Have you ever felt like the ground was disappearing from beneath your feet? That no matter how hard you tried to hold on, something inside you told you it wouldn't work? That the weight was too great, the path too difficult, and you too small? If you've ever felt this way, this video is for you. And before I finish, I'm going to show you something written in the Bible that can completely change how you face what you're going through. Stay until the end. It's worth it. Fear has a voice. And that voice is insistent. It doesn't shout most of the time. It whispers. Slowly, with a certain cruel logic, it lists everything that could go wrong. It paints scenarios that haven't even happened yet. It convinces you that the worst is inevitable. And the scariest part, we start to believe it. Spiritual courage in difficult times doesn't come from people who have never felt fear. It comes from people who have felt all of that and yet chose to continue. People like you, people like me, people who deep down still carry a spark of faith that fear hasn't yet managed to extinguish. Life has a strange way of placing us exactly where we fear most. An unplanned crisis, a loss that hurts more than words can describe. A decision that needs to be made, but the heart freezes. A future that seems hazy, uncertain, almost without a way out. At times like these, anxiety doesn't ask permission. It simply arrives. And when it arrives, it brings with it tiredness, doubt, and a question that keeps popping up. What if God doesn't show up this time? But here's something no one tells you when fear knocks on the door. Trusting God even when afraid is not the opposite of faith. That and faith. True faith isn't the kind that only works when everything is going well. It's the kind that stands firm precisely when everything seems to be falling apart. Having hope in God during difficult times is not naivete. It is the bravest decision a human being can make. It is saying, with a still trembling heart, I don't know how this will turn out, but I know who I trusted. There is a huge difference between a person who has never faced fear and a person who has faced fear and still moved forward. The latter is the one who transforms lives. The former is the one who inspires generations. And the latter could be you. Trust in God during difficulties isn't a feeling that appears when you're strong. It's what keeps you standing when you're weak. And what I'm about to show you will reveal that even in the deepest darkness of life, there is always a presence that never abandons you. Never. The courage you seek isn't within you, waiting to be discovered. It resides in someone who has never left you and is about to remind you of that. Chaos has a way of making us forget what we know. When the storm truly arrives, it's not just the wind that's frightening. It's the silence of God that seems deafening. Or at least, that's what it seems like, but seeming and being are very different things. There's a scene in the Bible I need to tell you about, not because it's beautiful. It begins with terror. It's the story of Peter, an experienced fisherman, a man of strong arms and direct words, a man who knew the sea like few others. And that's exactly why what happened that night shook everything inside him. It was dawn. The disciples were in the boat in the middle of the Sea of Galilee, rowing against a strong, relentless wind. The waves crashed, the boat rocked, and then someone saw a figure walking on the water. Fear was immediate. They screamed. They thought it was a ghost. And it was at that exact moment that the voice arrived. Calm, firm, unhurried. Take courage. It is I. Don't be afraid. It was Jesus, walking on that which was sinking others. Pedro, being Pedro, did what no one expected. He asked to go. Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. And Jesus said just one word, he comes. And Peter got out of the boat. He stepped into the water and he walked. A fisherman with his feet on the impossible, looking at Jesus. It worked. For a few seconds, gravity seemed not to know what to do with that man. But then he looked to the side. He saw the wind. He felt the movement of the waves, and the fear returned with a vengeance. and he began to sink. Here's a detail that many people overlook. Peter didn't sink because he left the boat. He began to sink because he took his eyes off Jesus. The fall didn't come from a lack of courage. It came from distraction. And look how beautiful what happens next. Peter shouted, "Lord, save me," that's all, 3 words. And immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. Not after a long prayer, not after a solemn promise, immediately. This is God strengthening those who are afraid. Not by eliminating the wind, not by calming the sea instantly, but by extending his hand before the water covers their heads. And do you know what the most beautiful part of this story is? Jesus asked Peter, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" It sounds like a reprimand, but notice, Jesus was already holding his hand when he asked that question. He didn't wait for Peter to have perfect faith to save him. He saved him first. He asked later. God guides his children through struggles not because they are strong enough, but because he is faithful enough. Do not fear. God is with you, even when you are sinking, especially when you are sinking. Have you ever noticed that most of the time, what makes us sink isn't the storm itself, but the moment we stop looking at him? There comes a moment in everyone's life when they truly face fear, a silent moment, almost invisible on the outside, but enormous on the inside. It's the moment of choice, not the choice of whether or not to feel fear. That's something you don't control. The choice is to let fear decide for you. And that's where everything changes. Courage and faith in the Christian life have never been about the absence of trembling. They've been about direction. Where do you turn your face when your knees bend? To the problem, which grows with every second you look at it, or to God, who remains the same yesterday, today, and forever? Hebrews 13:8 wasn't written to be embroidered on a wall plaque. It was written to be held in both hands on a stormy night. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. This means that the God who parted the Red Sea is still active. The God who shut the mouths of the lions has not retired. And the God who held Peter's hand still has his hand outstretched. Overcoming fear through faith is not a painless process. No one will lie to you and say it's easy. It's a decision that hurts a little because it requires you to let go of control. And letting go of control is perhaps the hardest thing for a human being to do. But think about it. Have you ever tried to solve it using the remote control? Have you ever stayed up all night calculating every possibility, trying to predict every scenario, trying to find a way out through the power of your own reasoning? And did it work? Or did you wake up more tired than when you went to sleep, with the problem just as big and your soul a little heavier? God gives strength to face challenges, not strength to not feel, strength to keep going even when feeling. There is a huge difference between these two things. The warrior who feels no fear before battle is not courageous. He is reckless. The courageous one is the one who feels everything, takes a deep breath, and moves forward anyway. Joshua was called by God 3 times in a row with the same words, "Be strong and courageous," 3 times. Do you know what that means? That Joshua probably needed to hear it 3 times, that he trembled too, that his courage wasn't natural, it was supernatural. And yours can be too. Faith to overcome fear is not a gift reserved for saints and biblical figures. It's a choice available to you right now, at this moment. With that heavy heart you're carrying, with that situation that seems hopeless, the decision is in your hands. And what happens after you make that decision will surprise you, because God doesn't promise a path without obstacles. He promises that you won't walk alone, and that promise is about to make much more sense than you imagine. Nobody talks much about it, but the most intense battles you'll fight in life don't happen out there. They happen in here, in your mind, in your heart, in that silent space where thoughts move too fast and reason desperately tries to keep up. And that's exactly where fear builds its stronghold. Overcoming anxiety with God begins with understanding one thing. Anxiety isn't just a feeling. It's a narrative, a story your mind tells about the future, almost always with the worst possible ending. And the more you believe this story, the more real it seems, the more power it gains, the more space it occupies. Paul knew this, and he wrote from inside a prison, not from a comfortable room, when he said in Philippians 4:6-7, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Peace that surpasses understanding. This means it doesn't need to make sense to happen. It simply arrives when you surrender to it. Spiritual strength to persevere doesn't come from ignoring bad thoughts. It comes from replacing them. Paul uses a very specific word. Renewal. Romans 12:2 speaks of being transformed by the renewing of the mind. Not by suppression, not by denial, by renewal. As if the mind were a garden, and you needed to pull out the weeds and plant something new. And what do you plant? Truth. The truth of who God says you are, the truth of what He promised, the truth that He has never failed, and He won't start now. Verses about courage and confidence aren't magic formulas, they're anchors. When the mental tide rises and thoughts start to drag everything down, you need something fixed, something that doesn't move. And the Word of God doesn't move. Isaiah 41:10 is one of those anchors. "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." 3 verbs: to strengthen, to help, to support, all in the present tense, not in the past, not in the future, now. Trust in God during difficulties is built precisely in those moments of mental battle. Not on a quiet Sunday afternoon. It's when the mind speaks. It won't work, and you choose to declare, "God is faithful." Faith becomes muscle, and muscle is formed through effort, not rest. Before we continue, a quick, heartfelt pause. If this content is touching you in any way, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like. This helps this type of message reach more people who need to hear exactly what you're hearing now. Thank you so much. Now, let's move on. A renewed mind opens up space for something that fear could never give you: the courage to take the first step. And that first step is the most important of all. You're on the edge. You've heard it all. You've reflected. You've felt your heart tighten and also open. And now the moment has arrived that separates those who remain trapped from those who finally break free. It's not the moment when fear disappears. It's the moment when you move forward even with it. This is the climax. This is the turning point. God gives strength to face challenges, but He almost always expects you to take the first step. Not because He needs proof, but because the step itself transforms you. When Joshua's feet touched the waters of the Jordan, the river had not yet parted. Joshua 3:15-16 records that the waters only divided after the priests stepped into them. The faith that moves mountains usually needs to move you first. This is profound. The miracle came after obedience, not before. Faith to overcome fear isn't about waiting to feel completely safe before acting. It's about acting before feeling safe, because you trust in the one who sent you. Abraham went out without knowing where he was going. Hebrews 11:8 says it bluntly. By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go to a place he was to receive as an inheritance, and he went, not knowing where he was going. Without knowing where he was going. Did you read that? He didn't have a map. He had a guide. And he discovered that the guide was enough. God strengthens those who are afraid, not by eliminating the difficult path, but by walking it with them. And something happens when you finally take that step in faith. A strange and inexplicable peace begins to settle in your heart. Not because the situation has changed, but because you have changed. Your attitude has changed. Your perspective has changed. You've stopped being someone who watches the storm from the shore and have become someone who crosses over with your eyes fixed on the Lord. Spiritual courage in difficult times has this mark. It makes no noise. It doesn't need applause. It is silent, firm, and deeply rooted in something the world cannot give and cannot take away. It is the certainty that even if you stumble, there is a hand to hold you. There always has been. And if you haven't taken that step yet, perhaps now is the time. Not tomorrow, now. Fear is still there, but look what happens when it stops being your guide and becomes just a shadow walking behind you, while God walks ahead of you. We've reached the end of this journey, but it's not the kind of ending that closes a door. It's the kind that opens a window, because everything that's been said here isn't theory. It's an invitation. And now, before we conclude, I need to give you something I've saved especially for this moment. A revelation hidden within a verse you've probably read, but perhaps never seen in this way. Throughout this time, we have spoken about fear, about battles, about decisions, and about faith. But there is a truth that underpins all of this. A truth that is the foundation of every word spoken here, and it is found in Isaiah 43, 1-3. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they will not overwhelm you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned, nor will the flame consume you. For I am the Lord your God. Did you read it carefully? God didn't say you won't go through the waters. He said he will be with you when you do. He didn't promise the absence of fire. He promised presence in the fire. That's the difference between a religion of comfort and a faith of transformation. Trusting God, even when afraid, is not weakness disguised as spirituality. It is the highest form of courage that exists, because it means you recognize your limitations and choose to lean on someone who has none. Do not fear, God is with you, not as a pretty phrase, as a living, present, active reality. The same God who created the universe with words knows your name. He knows what you are carrying. He knows what is to come. And he is already there. A message of courage and faith in God is this. It's not the absence of struggles. It's the certainty of a presence that struggles cannot take away. God guides his children amidst struggles, not despite them, but through them. Because it is within difficulty that faith deepens. It is in the desert that you learn to depend. It is in the darkness that you discover that he is light. And the courage and faith in the Christian life that springs from all of this is unparalleled. It's not borrowed. It's not temporary. It's forged. It's real. It's yours. Spiritual strength to continue doesn't come from convincing yourself that you are strong. It comes from remembering that he is strong in you. 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. This means that your weakest point is precisely where God's glory shines most brightly. So don't hide your weakness from God. Surrender it. And now, the revelation I promised at the beginning. The Hebrew word used in Isaiah 41:10 for I strengthen is position. It doesn't just mean giving strength. It means to establish, to make firm, to take root. God is not just giving you the energy to act. He is establishing you, rooting you, making you firm where there was once sand. Hope in God during difficult times is not a fleeting emotion. It's a deep-rooted foundation. And people who are deeply rooted don't fall with every breeze. If this video touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear that they are not alone. Leave your comment below. What are you choosing to entrust to God today? That question is worth its weight in gold. And if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, do it now, because here the message is always the same. You are loved, you are not alone, and God is still in control. Do not fear. Move forward. It is already in your tomorrow, waiting for you. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Joshua 1:9.